Let's cross over to our reporter in Berlin, who's Jona Karlgren. Jona, good to see you there. It doesn't look like there's going to be any new restrictions announced from today's meeting that Angela Merkel had with local leaders, but potentially more coming in just a few days' time.
No, you're absolutely right. They did hold a meeting today, and there was, an expectation that perhaps there would be some new restrictions coming out of that meeting. However, there doesn't seem to be any. Instead, there's now a meeting planned for Wednesday, and at that Wednesday meeting, we're hearing reports that there will be new restrictions coming out, and it's going to be called a lockdown light. That means that schools will stay open, most shops will stay open. However, restaurants, bars and events will be banned, closed, not just at night, but in general. Now, we're still waiting, obviously, for the exact details, but that is the word coming out of Angela Merkel's office today, that is something that she's at least going to push for at this meeting on Wednesday with these other leaders from the different states in Germany. And this is obviously a great change from previously, when Germany did handle this crisis quite well and were able to escape the brunt of this virus without having to enforce any fierce lockdown, any serious lockdown. Obviously, the country shut down for a few weeks, but in general, they have handled it quite well. So this lockdown light is a step towards far more restrictions than we've previously known here in Germany.
Okay, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations you Akim out there that push this word in truth and in sincerity. This will be a great millstone to the point. Abba Batazah you Akim out there will be edified. So without further ado, I'm getting to these scriptures. Here we have Angela Merkel talking about a light restriction or a light lockdown in Germany. This is going on in Europe, but soon it will hit the shores of America on a large scale. Because what we have in America is a presidential reality TV show, whereas these people are planning on going out to the vote. So only the Lord knows what's going to pop off within the next 10 to 15 days, considering that coronavirus in New York City supposedly is on the rise, and they have much more cases. That's like you see that they spreading this COVID-19 rumor all over the world. This is called gradualism. Gradualism is how they slowly but surely implement their draconian laws. They slowly but surely implement lockdowns. And when they lock this country down, that means all the bridges and tunnels is locked down as well. So how are they going to bring foods? Do these truckers, how these truckers are going to bring food to these supermarkets, which only carry 3 days food supply, man? And that's going to bring forth a famine. You see, we enter into some heavy times, man. But you people have not a clue what's going on. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. The sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Upcoming race riots, race wars, class of civilizations, if you will, meaning the lower class going up against the so-called middle class, which is not a middle class anymore. It's all about the rich and the poor. The international bankers are the rich, and the elites that's working for them, the politicians and those that sold out, the sports heads, the Hollywood heads, Jake that's in the industry of the rap world. So they are going to be forced to bow down and join themselves to that new system, which is going to be a digital currency, which is going to be the mark of the beast. So that's a part of the woes, man. So it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand to fight against another people, and swords in their hand. That's a race war, my man. That's a race riot. Class of civilizations, if you will, my man. If you are slow of heart and can understand that. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. Now that word sedition among men, that word sedition goes back to an uprising against a monarch or a government. In this case, America is not a monarch, but in all actuality it is, but it's considered a government. So you can have people bucking up against the government. And we've been telling you these things week in and week out, putting up videos. Here I'm putting up another video warning you of what's coming down the pike. Because what's going on in Germany right now, light lockdowns, nationwide light lockdowns light in Germany, which is gradualism. We are not ignorant of Satan's devices. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. We are not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. A light lockdown. Come on, give me a break, man. This is called gradualism. And they slowly but surely locking this world down with this second wave that they claim that's taking the grip on society. But it's all bullshit. It's all for you to take that vaccination and ultimately for you to take the R4D microchip. And that's their plan. To have total control of all the citizens of the world. Putting everybody in slavery. Not just Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and the rest of the tribes, but everybody that dwells on the face of the earth, man. If you have a social security card, if you have a birth certificate, driver's license, if you are bound by contracts, if you have a social security number, birth certificate, you are a perpetual slave and you can't get around it. You dumb niggas think you're free. You're not free. You have a social security card. You have a birth certificate. You are a slave. You are a corporate slave. That's because you don't have chains on you. You have chains on your mind. Because you are spiritually and mentally dumbed down. Because that's how these crackers want you. Starting with the international bankers. So everybody that has a birth certificate or a social security number, or if you have a license, a contract that you bound by, you are a perpetual slave under the international bankers. And there is no getting around that. Do you understand what I am saying? You dumb niggas. You're not free. So go ahead and vote for the one that's going to oppress you. Because that's what's coming, oppression. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Do you think when there's an uprising that they're going to regard what Bill de Blasio have to say? Do you think they're going to care what this dude Andrew Cuomo have to say? Do you think they're going to care what Donald Trump or whichever president is going to be sitting in the office, in the Oval Office, have to say? They're not going to regard any of that, man. They're going to go out there and do what they have to do. Why? Because they got to try to feed their families, man. And they're going to realize that they have been duped. They voted for this whatever president's going to be in office, and they've been duped. And, hey, man, if you voting, if you believe in this system, you are going to get whatever the Most High have in store for you. You dumb niggas. You shouldn't be out there voting anyway, man. Putting your trust and faith in men. What about Yahweh? Why Yahweh Shah? That's why all these calamities that I'm speaking about in 2nd ESDRAS, the 15th chapter, the 14th verse, on down is going to come upon you, Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, because y'all ain't right in the spirit. So it reads, a man shall, 2nd ESDRAS chapter 15, verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and should not be able. Why? Because it's going to be martial law. They're going to have MRAPs, Humvees, locking down these bridges and tunnels, man, where you can't go in and you can't come out. You can't leave the city. You can't go out of the city. You can't come into the city. You can't leave the borough you in, neither could you come into the borough that you're trying to get into, because it's going to be locked down due to martial law. Do you understand? Let me read it again so it can sink into your ears, because you people are slow of heart. And that word slow of heart means slow of mind, meaning you are a retard. You understand? You are a retard if you can't understand this. A man shall desire to go into a city and not be able. Why? Because it's going to be under martial law. Let me say it slow so it can sink in to you people that's slow of heart, your ears. Martial law. You dumb niggas. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. You gonna have all these tough Tonys out here shaking like bitches. You can have tough Tonys quivering in their boots for the great tribulation and the trouble that's coming. Only the elect is going to be delivered out of this shithole. Only the elect is going to be delivered out of the trouble that's coming. You can't get around that. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor and shall destroy all. It's like it says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their house with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Jacob's trouble, pursuant to Jeremiah 30:7, Daniel 12:1, 2nd ESDRAS the 15th, which I'm reading out of, and the 16th chapter. What more could we tell you, man? We've been telling you these things for years, week in and week out, putting up videos, warning you. But now you're starting to see these things come to pass. Now there's no more scoffing and scorning. Now you're shaking in your boots. Now you are holed out. But it's okay. It's okay. Because if you get put to death on this side for being wicked, you're going to come back. All Israel's going to be saved. But you want to make it on the first train. On that first flight. But only a small few is going to make it. Abba brothers, I'm a part of that small few. And that small few is an elect. Elect chosen men, the aristocrats, those that's fit to rule with Yahweh Shah. And that's it. That's it. Bottom line, that's it, man. You can't get around that, man. So I'm going to read it again before I close it out. 2nd ESDRAS chapter 15, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. You may know your neighbor for 30 years. But you're going to go up in his crib with your gun or your knife or whatever you got, your billy club, and try to take his shit. Especially if you ain't got nothing. You smell some grub coming, some sweet savoring grub coming from his crib because he's cooking. You're going to go up in there trying to take his shit First you may ask him for something. He may turn you down. Then you're going to try to turn violent and take his shit. That's why it says in the scriptures. This is scriptural. A man shall, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, kick his door in, whether you got a machete, a gun, brass knuckles, all that's considered a sword, a bat, a billy club, a ball and chain, whatever you have, man. Whatever instrument of war you have, man. It says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. It says, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, no food, trying to feed his household, trying to put some substance in his belly. I need some substance, man. I'm famished. So I'm going to Bill's crib. That's how it's going to go down, man. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, a famine, and for great tribulation, Jacob's trouble. Pursuant to Jeremiah 30:7. Daniel 12:1. 2nd Ezra, the 15th and the 16th chapter. And I'm reading out the 15th chapter now. Part of the tribulations, man. So with that, this has been a great millstone to the point. Abba Ratazayu Akim out there was edified. And with that, I'm going to say Shalom.